embrace the beauty of my divine imperfections. Yeah, say that again. I embrace the beauty of my divine imperfections. Yeah, it's a little tough to say, isn't it? Because we tend to look at the things that we judge as imperfect and think they're wrong and bad. But what we forget is that each one of us comes into life unique and special. And so what might seem imperfect to me may very well be perfect for you. So we're really journeying along with this road of how do I do this and what would it mean to me if I would allow myself to simply be who I am. Wow, that's interesting, isn't it? So as we're going through this year and the grand rising, this month we're talking about our beliefs about perfection. And what I've noted about my own perfectionism, for that matter, is that sometimes my perfectionism actually limits, restricts, and holds me back. Not sure if you found the same thing, but that's what happens sometimes is we have set a standard or something for ourselves, and it really seems like, we should be able to do everything right and perfect, and somehow our imperfections pop in and we judge those as bad and wrong. But sometimes what we're judging is actually an opportunity for us to move in a new direction, to see things from a different vantage point, or also to recognize that who I am is in fact unique. And that when I judge perfection, maybe I'm judging it by standards that actually are not my own. So we know the phrase that practice makes perfect. But what if it doesn't? What if the goal of practice, instead of being perfection, which actually will suffocate our experience and cut us off from our life essence, what if the goal of practice is not perfection, but to recognize the beauty and possibilities available to us in imperfection? And then we can begin to create a more expansive experience of life and living, which I think is really what many of us are looking for, right? We want to be happy. We want to have a feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction. So what if perfectionism actually hinders our personal and spiritual growth? When we pursue perfection, it can paralyze us, prevent us from taking action, experiencing the richness of life. I know I've felt that. I sit down to write something and I start writing, and right away I'm judging, well, is that sentence the best? Could I have said it better? And there becomes this writer's block. But is it writer's block, or is it my perfectionism popping in, holding me back from actually expressing what I really want to? And years ago, I was reading a book called Writing Down the Bones, and it was about writing every single day, taking time to write. And what happens is, yeah, you write a lot of crap for sure. But it's through all of that writing that those gems, those glorious little nuggets come out that are so profound and beautiful. We didn't even know they were inside of us. But as we reflect back on what we wrote, we start to see that. So it's really important that we begin to let go of perfectionism and embrace a more compassionate and authentic way of living, which will then lead us to a greater sense of happiness, maybe some satisfaction and fulfillment as well. Ernest Holmes wrote in The Science Mind, the only reason we are limited is that we've not allowed the divine within us to more completely express. Our divine individuality compels infinity to appear in our experiences as duality because we have believed in duality. Oh, yeah, we do believe in duality, don't we? So we want to shift that. We want to really focus on our oneness. And through the lens of oneness, we understand that all of existence is divine, encompassing everything, even that which we don't like, right? All of it is serving a purpose. I was trying to figure out the purpose of mosquitoes. It might be food for bats, I'm not sure, but as they nibble on me and create this very itchy, irritated skin, I'm kind of resistant to mosquitoes. But what I know is that everything is serving some kind of purpose. So if I can let go of my judgment of what it should look like and allow for it to be what it is, what happens is there's an opportunity to find that balance, right? Life comes to a place of balance when I'm not resisting and I'm not trying to force or manipulate, but I'm allowing. So we're looking at how do we do that? And when we go through that lens of oneness, we begin to realize that perfectionism really narrows our focus. And, it sort of disregards the vastness and diversity of life's expression. And by broadening our perspective, we recognize our own divine presence, which includes our imperfections. Because what's an imperfection anyway? It's my decision to look at something about me or another as not right. But who said? So wholeness reminds us that oneness must consist of all the pieces. Okay, let me say that again. Wholeness reminds us that oneness must consist of all the pieces. The pursuit of perfection often dismisses the parts that, we don't like or that don't meet our expectations, right? But by embracing imperfection, we honor wholeness and the multifaceted nature of the world around us. And that changes everything because we can actually begin to live in that oneness, whereas perfectionism thrives on duality. Yeah. So that leads us to that place of self-judgment and fear, and maybe a lack of action. Maybe that's where procrastination comes from. Do you think? That because I have to do it perfectly, this is my story, right? I had to do it perfectly. And if I couldn't do it perfectly, I didn't do it at all. Procrastination. They seem to go hand in hand. So if we can surrender all that, if we can allow ourselves to notice when we're trying to be perfect and instead try to enjoy the journey of practicing living from a whole perspective, from this place of wholeness, we can begin to open up to something really, really wonderful. So perfectionism will hinder our personal and spiritual growth, but by cultivating a compassionate, authentic approach and embracing our imperfection, we actually unlock the transformative power of self-acceptance, growth, and a deeper connection to the divine essence, which is within all of us. Within all of us, there is this divine essence that is perfect. Yesterday, I was teaching a class on the New Thought Media Network, Science, Mind, and Spirit, based on the textbook. And the chapter we were covering yesterday was chapter 22, Finding the Christ. And what I loved about that chapter was the ways that Holmes would write about, that energy of life. And his poetry is just so beautiful that I kind of sat back going, this speaks so loudly to me that I want to make sure that I share one of these little poems with you, because it really is a profound one. I just need some glasses so I can read it. Because when we start to see ourselves the way the universe sees us, there's a big shift that happens. So this is from the Science Mind, page 365, in the chapter Finding the Christ. And it's called Holy, Holy, Holy. Inner presence, great and mighty. Inner light that shines divinely. Inner life that lives completely. Inner joy that smiles serenely. Inner peace that flows so deeply. Inner calm, untroubled, happy. Inner love that gives so freely. Inner truth that never fails me. Inner power that holds securely. Inner eye that sees so clearly. Inner ear that hears it always. Inner voice that speaks supremely. Inner good that binds me to thee. Holy, 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 Lord God within me. When I listen to that, what it tells me is that within me is perfection. That there is something in me that is powerful and productive, untouched by the human experience of pain and suffering, but rather an essence of fulfillment and joy. He wrote another one, and this is the last one I'll share, but it's really, really so beautiful. Sweet song of the silence, forever singing in my heart. Words cannot express, the tongue cannot tell. Only the heart knows the song which were never sung, the music which was never written. I never heard that great harmony and felt that great presence. I have listened to the silence, and in the deep places of life, I have stood naked and receptive to thy songs, and they have entered my soul. I am lost in the mighty depths of thy inner calm and peace. Yes, I love that. It's, it suggests to us that already within us, we have all that we have need of, everything necessary. And so the idea of imperfection truly is inaccurate, because I have within me all that I need. You have within you all that you need to lead a happy, fulfilling, and satisfying life. So what is holding it back? And what's holding it back is the way I think about myself, my life, my world. But if I can shift that and focus inwardly on that divine essence, the truth of who I am, well, then happiness and peace all become a really natural expression. So perfectionism has a way of narrowing our focus, fixating on a limited ideal, and disregarding the vastness and diversity of life's expressions. It creates an illusion that there's only one way to be, one way to look, and one way to succeed. However, through the lens of oneness, we recognize that all of existence is divine and interconnected. And in this expansive perspective, we understand that everything, even what we might consider imperfect, is an essential part of the whole. An essential part. Essential. We want to remember that word, essential. Who I am is essential to the unfolding of the universe at this point in time. Yes, all of it. Just like you, just like me, we are here by divine appointment. We're not a mistake. We're not broken and flawed. We have been created in a way that satisfies the purpose that we are here to fulfill. And when I think about, what is my purpose? Well, my purpose is to live from the inside out. To start here, to go within and see the love, the light, the beauty, the grace, the goodness, the uniqueness, and to share that in the world around me. See, embracing my imperfection is an integral aspect of our journey, and we honor the divine wholeness as we begin to see imperfections are not flaws to be fixed, but unique expressions of the divine unfolding. I love that. And by broadening our perspective and recognizing the divine presence in all things, including our imperfections, we open ourselves up to a deeper sense of connection and appreciation for the inherent beauty and diversity of life. So it makes it easier for us to be receptive to the people in front of us, to begin to see those around us in that same light, to know that what I see as wrong or bad may in fact be incredibly perfect. And I remember years ago, I think I was at a baseball game that my son was playing in. He was probably 9 or 10 at the time. So we're at this game and there was a family there, and one of their children had a disability that kept him in a wheelchair. He was unable to walk. He was unable to speak. couldn't feed or clothe himself. He was about, I think he was about 4 years old at that point. And so, I was talking to the family and I said, wow, that must be so challenging to, know that this young child is going to live a very short life, but, that you can't play with him in the same way that you would your other children. And they just looked at me like I had no idea, which of course I did not. I saw that this child had imperfections. What they saw was grace. What they said to me still makes me a bit emotional. What they said to me was this child was the greatest gift. Yes, gift. Greatest gift they'd ever received. They knew something that I'm still learning. And what they've learned, what they discovered in having this child with special needs, was that this too was perfection. This child interrupted the activity of life wherever they went in a way that was unexpected, but truly beautiful. What I learned that day was, something we've all heard over and over again: don't judge a book by its cover. You've got to get to the meat of it. You got to look inside. And what I realized was this little child was bringing immense joy to this family simply by being. He had a smile that just would radiate out. And it was after speaking to them that I saw his perfection. We need to be interrupted sometimes because we decide what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. The dualism, right? We're living in that. But when we shift our perspective to oneness, it is in the oneness that all of it is working out. All of it is somehow perfect. And if I can stop trying to manipulate the way it should be by my finite perspective, I can expand my willingness to be with what is and to begin to see how all of it is working together for good. Yeah, wow. So this idea of looking at everything from a new vantage point changes the game, changes everything for us. While we're, going through this, coming to a new understanding, we cultivate self-acceptance and compassion and embrace the imperfections of ourselves as a vital part of our journey. Then we can extend that same acceptance to others. And we can create an environment of inclusivity. We hear a lot about being inclusive these days, but we're generally inclusive when it's comfortable for us. But what if we're just inclusive? And I may have shared this story before, but my daughter shared with me, my daughter Genevieve, who's now 19, when she was riding the subway to and from school, she said, if somebody sat beside her, like a homeless person or someone who maybe hadn't bathed in a long time, she wouldn't get up and move because she felt that would be disrespectful to the person she was sitting with. Sometimes sitting in our discomfort allows for someone else to experience acceptance or respect or comfort in their own being. It's important that we begin to view life in a new way, because perfectionism thrives on the illusion of duality, whereas the imperfect allows us to be with whatever shows up, knowing that all of it is working for good somehow. And we might not be able to see that yet, but in time it will become obvious. And I know I've had experiences that at the time I thought, oh, worst thing ever. But 3 years later or 4 years later, I go, whoa, thank goodness that occurred. I'm grateful for it because it changed my trajectory. It changed the direction I was moving. And as such, I was able to experience life in a bigger, brighter, and more beautiful way. I ended up somewhere because of that. So when we start to look at the ways that we feel inadequate and just ask ourselves why, and often we'll discover that the messages we received as young children, when our parents were trying to get us to behave in a way that would reflect positively on them, when we were able to look at all of those things as information received from outer sources, which may in fact be biased in some way, we start to realize that if I can look at it differently, I can love myself fully. Yeah, come back to that idea of love. The spectrum of perfection and imperfection is a construct created by our minds and social conditioning. That's it. What I judge as imperfect, someone else may go, wow, that's so perfect. Who's right? So why don't you, over the next week to, well, over forever, let's not hold it to a week, to just notice when you think you've done something wrong or you're showing up in an imperfect way, and to immediately go to the place of forgiveness, to go, you know what? My viewpoint is causing me to think along these lines, but my viewpoint may in fact be inaccurate. Where did this point of view come from? Who informed me that this is right and this is wrong? So as we begin to explore those things for ourselves, we can start to see the ways in which we can begin to move toward a higher standard of perfection, in that we accept the imperfection. We allow ourselves to simply be who we are. We give up self-judgment. We recognize that what we view as imperfections are not true, right? Just ideas. Similarly, these misbeliefs do not define our worth. We understand that our value is based on our inherent divine nature. Yes, you are divine. Yes, you are divine, created unique and special like everybody else. So in embracing imperfection, we cultivate self-compassion. That which we view as imperfect is actually an invitation to become more us, to honor our strengths and acknowledge our areas of growth with love and acceptance. Because we're all growing, we're all learning. And that shift in perspective allows us to cultivate a sense of self-worth, and it empowers us to live authentically. Yes, the authentic life. It allows us to free ourselves, where perfectionism will paralyze us, but sort of opening up to that divine nature, that's a freedom, that's an expansion. And it transforms us, creating incredible growth and possibility. And by letting go of the potentially suffocating grip of perfectionism, we create space for self-acceptance and self-expression. We see our imperfections not as limitations, but opportunities for learning, for expansion, for self-discovery. Yeah. It allows us to be more joyful, filled with love and purpose. Our hidden talents were only hidden because our perfectionism weighed it down and made it impossible to be revealed. But we let go of that perfectionism, and all of a sudden we start to see ourselves. So embracing imperfection fosters resilience. Life is full of up and down, challenges, setbacks. When we can accept that imperfection is a natural part of our experience, we're better equipped to navigate the bumps in the road. We develop the resilience to bounce back from failures or setbacks, viewing them as opportunities to grow and to learn. And we understand that it is in facing and overcoming challenges that we do expand and evolve. So what is it that we're doing? What is it that is next for us? The invitation and call to action is to reflect on how perfectionism has hindered our spiritual and personal growth. What area of your life have you been really feeling stuck or fearful or unworthy? Are you willing to look at that from a new place and to embrace and to imagine what life would be like if you could be compassionate with yourselves? Excuse me. Living authentically and honoring your own divine nature. See, our spiritual path is not about getting spiritual. We already are that. It's about learning how to be human. You see, we're these expansive spiritual beings, and we're living in this finite human existence, and we think that's what's real. We've forgotten that we are this expansive, powerful, divine energy, and we're living from the limitation rather than the expansion. We're living from that place of, if I could just be perfect, or better yet, if I could just be normal. Yeah, normal sucks. There's no such thing as normal. So we catch ourselves in these storytelling ways of going, this or that will make me happy, but it's not true. It's this and that. It's acknowledging my perfection and my imperfection, acknowledging that the journey that I'm on is taking me places I've yet to go, and I am willing to experience all of it. And from a place of compassion, honoring my wholeness as I am one with all life everywhere. Embrace that which you have called imperfect and begin to acknowledge and see how perfect it really is. You are created in the image and of the likeness of the Creator, which means you are, in fact, perfect, whole, and complete. So let's do that affirmation one more time, or two more times. Repeat after me. I embrace the beauty of my divine imperfections. I embrace the beauty of my divine imperfections. Oh, yeah, shout that out in your living room. I embrace the beauty of my divine imperfections. Yeah. You truly are perfect, whole, and complete.